So we are live, Matt, and I just like to refresh the YouTube. So there's like a little bit of a delay. So yeah, it's kind of weird how they won't see this for a minute, but
good. Boom, boom.
Yeah. So now that I've confirmed that you guys can see us, and Carnage is already here, and Sea Dog is already here. I never know if I'm supposed to say Jen or Sea Dog because I don't know if they want to be
right. Not
like
trying
on TikTok. I just say Sea Dog, but I'm pretty sure.
Like when Braces for Impact was in here one time, I was like, I dropped his name, and I was like, oh, I don't know if he wants me to say his name.
Publicly. Yes, yeah, same for like no use for names. I was just like, yeah, I don't know what the rules are with him anymore.
This is actually what we should do at some point is actually ask people like where are they on the like privacy scale when it comes to names and stuff like that. It's just so we have that written down ourselves so we know.
Yeah, exactly. So to that point, in an effort to not be late, y'all, we are live, and so I'm tweeting that we're live, and obviously neither of us are boys, and sorry, it for some reason says we have 0 viewers, so I'm just like double, triple checking it didn't glitch on the YouTube. Yeah, I don't know why it says 0 viewers. We're gonna move on. Like I said, neither of us are obviously boys, mindful skeptics, so we're just gonna take 30 seconds to tell us who we are and then what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to just start talking about things. So naturally, on social media, I'm Cheyenne for UBI because my name is Cheyenne, but everyone just calls me Shy, in part because of my personality. So how I got asked to co-host the Trickle Up with one of the biggest personalities I've ever encountered in my life, I will never know. I guess it's like a yin and yang thing. And my whole spiel is I hate poverty. And I think universal basic income is how we eradicate it. And I have trust issues with Congress ever passing that in any kind of near future time. So in the meantime, while we're pushing for them to pass basic income bills, we should normalize crowdfunding basic income for people living in abject poverty. So hit me up on TikTok or Twitter and ask me about crowdfund basic income. And now Matt's going to talk.
And it's a seriously good idea, guys. It's a bridge between where we have to get and what's needed right now. Matt from Mute the Media, like the name says, obviously we can't mute the media because this is media right here, but it's the idea that we should be more critical with how we kind of evaluate our sources, how we consume media, how we share media, how we create media. And as always, I'm just happy to be on here, and thank you to Boyce, and hope we do you proud, my dude. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, 100%. And for the sake of being concise, because we both have somewhere to be fairly soon, I'm not going to try and ignore the comments, but I may not get to all of them. And so Carnage said I'm also for safe driving, and that's 100% true. Yeah, always promoting safe driving. She was driving while she was watching my live, so I was just double, triple checking she wasn't commenting at inappropriate times. She claims it was all red lights. I'm going to take her word for it.
All right.
So tonight we have a few topics, and we're going to try and get through all of them. And the first topic is COVID in children. But before we can start discussing it, I have to make the intro clip. So, okay, everyone, let's see if we can change some minds tonight. Matt, COVID in children.
Okay, so this is a big one, guys, because there's a lot of kind of complacency. I think people are kind of acting like COVID's done. And there's a serious variant coming along right now. It's here, and it's impacting children. So the talking point going forward, or going back actually, when we were looking at COVID, we'll say for the last year, was often the difference between how it impacted young adults, the elderly, immunocompromised, and children, right? Which is why there's so much debate over maybe going back to school, whereas the economy is still kind of closed to some degree. And this new variant especially is seemingly impacting children at a higher rate. It's more infectious. And I'll kind of pin it there because I think Shai might be able to dive into some of the data that I can.
Yeah, 100%. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm very data driven. And so it's not even just, I'm like, I don't even care about reporting the news as much as I'm just we just need to get the facts out there. So here's some facts for y'all. As of June 24th, 4 million child COVID-19 cases were reported. So they are a smaller amount than all of the COVID cases, but that's 14%. Overall rate is 5,358 cases per 100,000 children in the population. And this is interesting. In the week that ended in June 17th, 24% of the new cases were children. And the week later, it was closer to 10%. So it's, like it's creepy that there was that spike. And I don't know if that was because school was still in or what that factor is, but my money's on probably just because we were still clustering them in buildings that were designed to deal with pandemics with good airflow.
I mean, you brought up the point a while back. We were talking, right? Like the recommendation went from 6 feet to 3 feet, not because 3 feet's appropriate, just because the logistics of the spaces and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is it's going to become a theme, I think. But this is one of the issues with capitalism when you're so focused on the material ends, on the economy, on money, you forget about the human aspect. And it's not just the human aspect. We're talking about children. Like we're talking about our children, what should be the most protected demographic, and
right. And I try to keep all of our, news nonpartisan because I don't really want to affiliate with either side. But to that point, I would just like to argue that a lot on the right claim to be very, very pro-children and do the most unpro-children things, such as not promoting masks, not promoting lockdowns, and everything else, and just completely not handling the pandemic as well as America could have.
just picture all the people running around this country as fetuses.
Yeah. Well, and like right now, you have a choice. If you're at a certain age, you have a choice to get vaccinated and help your community and help children who may not be approved to be vaccinated for months from now. And to that point, some people will never be approved to be vaccinated. And you also will be saving their lives as well. And I also like to point out that like it's not just America first. And in other countries like Brazil and India, it's far worse and it's far more tragic. So in Brazil, which for the record it's just under us. So we have the most COVID deaths, reported deaths. They have the second. They're seeing a spike in children's deaths.
Their leadership, by the way, he's a Trump style guy. Just gonna throw that out there. I'm sure there's no
correlation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, they found an excess of around 3,000 deaths of children, and so they actually think what has been reported as the COVID deaths are probably even being unreported because it's getting categorized as something slightly different. And to that point in India, which if you remember was just not that long ago, we were like, hey, we're done. We good. We beat COVID. They hadn't beat COVID. Something that I think Americans forget is that you can look at other countries because we are a young country, only a couple hundred years old. And you can be like, hey, this is like possibly a prediction of what could happen to us. So if we're sitting here being like, hey, we're done with COVID, we beat COVID, and then another country had done that and then it didn't work out, that's a red flag you should pay attention to. But yeah, like
100%. I would like to give a little data to that. I don't know what our vaccination rate across the nation is right now. I think we're hovering around somewhere like 50%, which is not enough. Certain states have crossed the threshold you want to be at, which I think is about 70% is the number I usually hear. India declared victory with like, I think less than a 10% vaccination rate, maybe around 10%. This is like from about a month ago. So like, forgive me if I'm off by a percentage or two, but it's about 10% was the number. So to your point, like, yeah, there's a big difference there, 50% to 10%. But I mean, you haven't hit the threshold in this new variant as.
Yeah, and when I was researching in India, there was a intensive care pediatrician that was interviewed, and they were saying that the majority of the children required critical care treatment that were going through their hospital for COVID, and some of which were ending up on ventilators. And like, you just never see that. That's not making the news. Like, our news isn't like the ventilators are describing trying to hold on to the older generations. And it makes it where people aren't aware of them. Like, this is affecting everyone. Some people are losing their children to this, and you have a choice. And what you do now and how you decide to spend your summer will affect indirectly whether or not someone gets another summer, including children. And that's so if you thought it was no big deal for children, I hope we changed your mind.
100%. And that should be that. I got nothing to add. You just, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't tell anyone to read a book, but I'm like, I think he can just clip it right there. And then I'm just going to refresh my mind and scan through the eviction moratorium. And yeah, and I feel bad. I threw that to you, but like, I guess I should
You're
just
good.
keep going versus
Yeah, you're
throwing it
chilling.
to you.
No, you're
But
good.
yeah, you want me. Yeah, you want me to do the intros, right?
For today probably better because I didn't get a
Yeah,
chance
because
to
I
read
have
stuff.
it on.
Yeah,
No, you're fine. I have it on a
you actually have it
yeah,
right there.
a little card hanging right above the camera, so or right under it rather.
Because I read the agenda last night. I got to some of the articles, but didn't read everything.
Yeah, well, to be honest, the general strike, there's no articles because, and I scoured.
And it was an update as we went.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
scoured the
this
internet.
thing was dead.
Yeah, so like that's going to be interesting to talk about. But before that, we got to talk about the. It's still coming. Like
Yeah.
we get another month, but it's building. So, okay, everyone, let's see if we can change some minds tonight. We are going to discuss the eviction moratorium. The CDC extended it for one more month. So it was going to run out on June 30th. Now it's going to go all the way till July 31st. And which means we still have an impending eviction explosion waiting to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's with almost 600 people already unhoused in America. 600,000 people, excuse me, unhoused in the richest country in the world.
100%. I mean, so we know in like the last year, well, this is not an exaggeration. We're talking about 10 million. It'd be easy. Tens of millions of people that lost health insurance. They lost their jobs. And this is still going on. So how many people didn't return to the workforce still? And we know if you look at the data, there's a lot of people who aren't looking for jobs because of COVID and other things. They can't, right? There's a variety of reasons. And so they got a month with unemployment benefits ending in certain states. Right? This is crazy. Like, this is actual insanity. Like this is like we're the greatest nation in the world, and we're just going to send like I truly don't understand it. Like, I don't have a hot take for this because it's like mind blowing to me.
Yeah, and before, when they thought it was going to end in June, the numbers were more than 11 million Americans are behind on their rent.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what we're talking like tens of millions of Americans. Like I don't get why there has to be more of a conversation. Like, you know, saying like to me, there's nothing. This isn't like even a segment. Like, it's crazy. This has to be a segment. Like, that we have to like explain to people why this is an issue. How many millions of homes do we have foreclosed on with no one in there? This is insanity. And who's buying up the homes right now, right?
Yeah, and so the people who didn't have a lot of leverage, who lost their income streams, and then therefore lost their homes, are the people who went into the pandemic with leverage now have more leverage because they were able to buy the homes. Like, it's something out of like a really, I don't know, like a movie that's like the origin story of how the purge starts or something. Like, how is this America?
My mind went to It's a Wonderful Life, Potterville. That's where my head went.
Yeah, 100%.
And I did want to say real quick, no use, 100%. That's a big thing, is the difference in states. Like, you're going to see a dramatic difference in how some states approach the next few months, obviously, when it comes to like unemployment, when it comes to evictions, things of that nature. So, good comment.
I was thinking about California, where I think they realized that it'll just be because they obviously have a homeless problem.
We have one-third of the homeless population of the nations in California.
Yeah, and here's my prediction on why. One, Los Angeles, one of the largest cities, right? The fifth largest economy, or I might be thinking of New York City. Sometimes I get those two mixed up, maybe it's the whole state.
It's California's like standalone used to be the second biggest economy. Now it's the third biggest economy. It's top five still. It used to be second.
China passed it up.
It's top five in the world standalone economy. Yeah, it's California.
Yeah. So yeah, you have like San Francisco, you have Los Angeles, and then also, for the most part, you have a sustainable temperature where people don't freeze to death.
That's a huge thing. But here's the thing. So that's why, like New York, for example, New York City has a huge homeless issue. But because of the extreme temperatures, like the extreme cold, they have shelters, way more shelters. That's why they don't see them as much, because you have to have a shelter, because you can survive. You can survive. You know, aspects of California. People kind of think the coastal part of California, you're going to be hovering like 60 to 50 to like 80, right? But you got like Death Valley, which desert, that's going to be a crazy range and stuff. But that's why most of your homeless are going to be San Diego, Los Angeles area, and Bay Area. We got in Sacramento. It's pretty wild here in Sacramento. But there's like this myth that like the homeless travel here because of the weather. It's not true.
Oh, really? You don't think that they might migrate from?
Most homeless people originate in, like, if they're in that city, that's the city they usually went homeless in. There, of course, there's migration, like, for example, but it's like not what you think. Oftentimes, like, different states will bus people into California, for example, like
Yeah,
Reno,
yeah.
Nevada does it.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, that's weird because I could have sworn that like some cities just send them to other cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. But I mean, that's not what's driving the numbers. People like to say, oh, like the California, like, oh, it's because of the weather. They're all coming here from other states and shit. No, bro, we don't. We have a housing problem in terms of the pricing. Like,
yeah. And to that, I just, because again, data driven, I just want to point out that the most people who are at risk for the evictions, the looming eviction crisis, is people of color and those with low incomes, including the elderly. Because don't kid yourself, when you're on Social Security, it's a super fixed income. And a lot of people who had, this is really morbid, but I'm just being honest, a lot of people who had two Social Securities, because it was like maybe like a couple, maybe the other couple, the one half didn't survive. And then you go down to one. And so, I mean, it's just, again, it's unacceptable.
It's the harsh reality, man.
Yeah, it's unacceptable in the richest country of the world. So,
but that's the common theme of so many conversations this last year. Is it's impacting the elderly and the marginalized, and like, if you have a decent society, that's who you're protecting, man. Like, and you can go back thousands of years, and we know, for example, there was like communities like in way harsher times that protected their old, right? Because there's people who had frailer like bones and stuff like that, and they were like they were like in burial sites with like various agents. I think they took care of their old, like, so like this like idea somehow like I don't know, it's just like, it's barbaric, man. Like the individual, like not every country does this either, man. Not all people do this in terms of how they treat their elderly, how they treat their children, the family unit in general. So, which is kind of weird, right? Because we really push this family values thing.
Yes. And actually that reminds me of a conversation I was having with Nandi the other night, where I was like, it's funny how people think it's an insult to say someone lives with their family. Like, like you live in your mom's basement, that insult, because in other countries, generations living under the same roof is the norm. It's like not even a stigma. And they're like, yeah, why wouldn't they? Like, they all, like, the family members love one another. It's economic. You get to enjoy one another's company. Like, it just makes sense. But in America,
more support, like,
in America, we're like, it's a little, anti-capitalism to not have everyone be renting a different house or renting a different apartment or whatever. We somehow have stigmatized it, but there's really no reason for it. And it would help with the housing crisis if you normalized living with family.
But to that end, we have a odd society that values production just for the fucking sake of it. And apparently we don't value having homes for our elderly and our sick and our young. So
yeah. And Matt and I did not plan this last night when we made the agenda, but our first story, the previous segment we did, was about our young. And this story, we highlighted how people never talk about this, but like the eviction crisis is going to disproportionately affect the elderly as well. So I think that's interesting.
Which kind of hits back at that theme we were talking about last night, right? It's kind of funny how that worked out anyways. Maybe it was like subconsciously there. But yeah, is there anything you want to add to, any more data you think, or anything you want to add to the eviction?
Just that, even if it's, I'm like, I don't know what other people can do. I don't know what kind of like mutual aid moves forward. Like, whereas before, like we were like, a call to action, you should get vaccinated if you're not vaccinated. With this segment, I don't know what the answer is other than like moving forward, we need better people in Congress who wouldn't even question, canceling
the only thing I can think of, man, is in your personal circle, normalize the idea of helping. If you have space, become comfortable with the idea of sharing space with people. I'm not telling you to go invite strangers to your home, like, gotta be realistic. But if there's gonna be people who are struggling, man, we're talking tens of millions of people. So if you make it known in your personal circles that this is a safe space, right? No judgment. Like, you need anything, like, normalize the idea of talking to your neighbors and stuff. Like, people will come to you if they really need help. If they know that you're a safe place, they will come to you. And do it, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, it goes back to, like, it has to be like community based, man. Like, we have to, like, so in California here, when we had the wildfires a couple of years back, really bad. That's what a lot of people were doing, man. People were driving out, giving aid, opening their homes up to people. That's what has to be done. So,
yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's all I got.
Yeah, you think that was a good enough ending?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I couldn't figure out, like, reading a book is not going to solve the eviction crisis. So
no,
but
We
Yeah.
can't solve it. That's the sickness, is we're not going to be able to solve this one right now. So
So now you and I are going to talk about the general strike, but I got to do the intro first.
yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, let's see if we can change some minds tonight. So it is July 1st, Matt, and I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a general strike. But when I went to look up all the news articles so that we could discuss how that went down, I couldn't find a single one. So I'm not saying people didn't do things today and to strike. I'm just saying they didn't make the national news. What's your take?
It goes back. So I think I'm not trying to like overstate, but like I think we were somewhat like early on, like at least somewhat tapped into what was supposed to be going down, so like to whatever degree it was. I think pretty early on, a few of us recognized this wasn't going to gain traction. And I think there's a problem with how people go about trying to strike. And it's the same problem most movements have. There's this idea that you have to throw out a wide range of demands to get everybody to care. But the more demands you throw out to get people in, the more demands that people are going to see that they don't agree with that gets them not to fucking want to be involved. So it's not about trying to throw out as many things to get people in, but finding a coherent, cohesive set of demands that first have a range of reasonable to unreasonable. That way, so, and that's the thing, man. So if you have a list of demands that can't be actually fucking met, and you have a timeline for your strike to accomplish something, they can't even give you what you want. So you have no way to know if they're actually reacting to you in good faith, if they didn't give a fuck. You're just making noise to make noise at that point in time, and there's no like scouting. You're not even pulling away what they're going to do in reaction to you. So I don't. They were too ambitious, which sounds kind of funny, but like you do have to be a little more measured and your approach a little more tactical. And I think there's just too big of a list of demands.
Yeah, and to that point, one thing I would argue that the main reason the strike was being talked about was because there's so much financial insecurity among low-income people who happen to be created with the vast majority of corporations. Like anyone who's working for all of the retailers, like they're not making bank, right?
Mm-mm.
And so I feel like you need to start simple with just like right now we have financial insecurity among people. I'm not going to say workers. I'm going to say people.
People.
Yeah. But what would gain us financial security is if we raise the minimum wage and implement a universal basic income. And so I will die on this hill that the people who want, because they're both anti-poverty, the people who want to raise the minimum wage need to get on board with universal basic income. To not is ableist and it's naive. And the people who want universal basic income need to get on board with the idea of raising the minimum wage, because it's not appropriate to pay people not recognize their value for what it is. And that's what I don't know the PC way of saying slave wages. I don't think that's appropriate. But whatever you want to call non-living wages, like you shouldn't be trying to die on a hill that we don't need to take non-living wages to living wages. And if those two coalitions team up, I think we get to financial security among low-income people a lot sooner.
I agree. It goes back to like a common conversation. I think it's I would say UBI is the ideal. Like if you had to pick between the two, because I think Matt should do both if you can, right? But to me, UBI seems like a bigger, broader step, right? But it's like you need both. It goes back to like so someone, it would be like dismissing crowdfund basic income UBI right now because you're in favor of UBI. It's like, oh, it's not enough or something. It's like, yeah, of course it's not. We want more, but you also like have to recognize how much this would help people in the now, because we're talking about we got states where if you're a server in certain states, you're taking like $3 an hour because like they're banking on tips and stuff. Like you're literally like this is what we're talking about, man. Like people deserve to have dignity. Like people deserve to have dignity. Like what separates us from different species is the fact that we get to choose how to create. That's what work is. Work should be creation, and people don't get to choose how to create. Most people don't, and then we wonder why we have a society that's like trending the way it is in terms of certain outcomes and stuff like that, right?
So this comment caught my eye, and I believe this is Sharon who was in my live. And so I apologize if I'm wrong. And if I'm not wrong, thank you for coming over to the Trickle Up. I really appreciate it. So this caught my eye because this is a common thing that's a pushback on universal basic income. And my counter to that is raising the minimum wage would also, the social programs would not remain intact. People would lose their food stamps if the minimum wage is raised. And so I'm not quite sure why there's like propaganda that's like, oh, we can't do universal basic income because people will lose their food stamps. But then in that same sentence, they'll be like, we need to instead raise the minimum wage because people will also lose their food stamps. And I know that to be true because that's how they pitch it. That's how the most progressive senator in the history of America, Bernie Sanders, pitches raising the minimum wage. He says Walmart's workers are on food stamps. You're paying for those food stamps because you're paying because their wages aren't higher. So if Walmart pays higher, you don't have to pay for people's food stamps, meaning the food stamps go away. So as awkward as it is to have that conversation about like people won't have food stamps, and it sounds bad, having money would be an upgrade. And it's the same scenario whether we raise the minimum wage or implement universal basic income. Yeah, we'll lower the government assistance because people's incomes will go up. And that's just how government assistance works. As it goes higher, your assistance goes down. And that's I don't really like that myself. Like I'm not pro Bernie should do that. I think it sounds a lot like the right when they're like, hey, you work really hard and someone else is having food stamps, you're paying for their food stamps. Like stop weaponizing people with low income on government assistance for your agendas, the left and the right. Like it's not appropriate. Do better. But to that effect, I think that I just want people to have capital and leverage, and we get that with raising the minimum wage and universal basic income.
I just get kind of confused why there's I just don't understand what the need for. I'm not saying only all social programs, but if someone's getting, so social programs give someone a lane in which to ideally better themselves. UBI gives someone a multitude of options in which to better themselves. So I'm not sure I don't understand that resistance. Like I actually don't understand it. Like it just seems weird to me because it's accomplishing the same thing and it gives people a wider range with which to make their own decision with which how to better themselves. So I don't understand the resistance from the left on UBI at all. I literally don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either.
It sounds rude, but it's nonsensical. So
and as someone who's been on government assistance before, if someone in that moment said you can have this amount in cash or you can have it in a currency that you can only purchase food with, I'd take the cash any day, even if the cash was slightly less. And it wouldn't be. I've never seen a universal basic income proposal that like would make significantly less cash than what people get in food stamps, which is a garbage amount. But that's a whole other discussion. Just because it's leverage to get needs in general met. And it's, I think, offensive that instead we've created this currency to be like, I know you're hungry, so we're going to make it where you can only get food. And we don't trust you enough that if we just give you the money, that you would get food and possibly other needs you want met. Yeah, and like if it was just money, people could get fast food. Like people on food stamps can't use their food stamps for fast food.
For like hot food, stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah, and Pilgrim.
You could go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. And after this, we should comment. Now that Boyce is in the chat, we should comment on his substandard wages because I don't know. I'm going to let you take that because I'm not sure what he's referring to.
I think I was just kind of like living wages, poverty wages. Maybe back to that conversation. I do want to say a Pilgrim. Yeah, the minimum wage. If you look at like kind of like the trend with like inflation, cost of living, different things, yada yada, it should probably be about $23 to $24 an hour. I think right now, progressive. I believe.
That's 100% correct. Yeah, the fight for 15 people have been fighting for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if we needed 15 10 years ago, we definitely need more than $7.50 now. Yeah, it's again in the richest country of the world. This is unacceptable math.
Yeah, and progressive. I would like to don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to just snap my fingers, place UBI, and then just get rid of social programs. There's going to be like a bridge just to ensure that no one gets lost in that transition, for whatever reason, right? Because again, like if you get direct cash, it should like eliminate a lot of the need for certain things, but you never know. Like there's just things you maybe aren't accounting for. So yeah, we find a way to kind of bridge those two things. But I think ideally, the goal would be if you're getting direct cash to people, you wouldn't need the array of programs, and we'd probably reduce it down to I don't know, more specific areas of need that still haven't been addressed. So, but I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of things. If we implement a UPI, there's a lot of things we could do, man. There's a lot of things we could change. We could restructure the education system. Like we could, it's a different conversation for a different
day. I know.
Man.
I was going to say, I apologize that the general strike evolved into thinking about the leverage. Speaking of which, yeah, if we had universal basic income, like a general strike would be very easy.
Because you don't got to worry about your job. You have that money set aside right now.
Correct. Labor demands would be very easy. So I have a question. Is this the end or the beginning of general strikes?
Beginning. It just has to get smarter.
100% agree. 100% agree. It was July 1st this time around. I think they should make it August 1st and then September 1st. And maybe eventually we get that splash. Mm-hmm. And all of it shouldn't just be on the people who are traditionally employed, because as patrons, you can refuse service at a place and stand in solidarity with the people that don't have the appropriate wages from that place.
I'm gonna argue that's the group that's actually even more important, and Shai is brilliant, and we should actually target that message going forward. Consumer spending is more important than, I think, the workers, to your point, because it has to be people. We have to, because even that focusing on the workers, 100%.
And we have that leverage, because let me tell you, if everyone decided to not go on Amazon.com for the day, they would notice. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, they're not going to notice if some people strike, and not everyone has that leverage to lose their job. Not everyone has that privilege to be okay if they lose their job. And so it doesn't hurt us to not go to McDonald's until they give their workers higher wages. Whereas, like, the workers who are the people who are traditionally employed at McDonald's, they can, like, lose their livelihood. That's mm-hmm. a lot of pressure. And so I'm just saying, like, use your leverage, people. You have more of it than you realize.
There's a little bit of like a privileged aspect on that one. It's like, it's easy to call for a strike when you have the means to strike. And here's the thing. So we're calling for a general strike from the people, but we know that half the country is like a week away from possibly being homeless, or like wondering where the fuck they're gonna live in a month, right? So if that's half your country, they can't realistically strike without worrying about some serious scarcity survival shit. Like, that's just like, and that's not a fair position to put someone in.
Yeah, 100%. So as much as I think it's the general strike people's focus on traditionally employed people, I say we focus on patrons, and those are the people who should be striking in solidarity.
I like that. And you could target it too. It doesn't have to be general. You could like target like certain businesses like one day. That's even easier. That's a good idea too. Like you said, Amazon would definitely feel, if even a 50% reduction in traffic for a day, they'd feel the fuck out of that.
Yeah, and then you don't even have to wait like a month. Like I was just saying, like, you could do it August 1st, but I was like, no, we don't actually have to do that, because, like, what if we just make July 7th no one goes on Walmart.com?
This place, yeah. Like, and then it builds up to a certain day where we just don't do any of them. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And like you said, you just have to keep doing it. Eventually one of them will splash. The right message will take hold at the right time. So you just got to keep putting the message out. But yeah, what's up? See some people jumping in. What's up, everybody? Appreciate the comments.
Yeah, okay. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to like look over here at our agenda, make sure I covered everything, and read all the comments. And I do want to reiterate, I really appreciated Sharon's comment before, because you can't dispel what is the word I'm looking for? Like, in other words, you can't properly promote universal basic income unless you make people hear their concerns. And mm-hmm. So, like, I'm all about hearing the concerns, especially with crowdfund basic income. I always find that interesting, because I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Like, let's talk about this. So again, guys, on Twitter or TikTok, ask me about crowdfund basic income.
Do it. And yeah, last one, I think we'll kind of wrap up general strike here, but 100%, I think most of us are eat the rich. Go look at some of your tax rates in like the 50s and 60s. But they ain't ready for that combo.
Yeah, and also what is good for the economy is if we all choose not to do a patron strike. So, corporations, choose carefully how you decide to react to our choices to do a patron strike.
Facts. So I think with that being said, general strike didn't have the impact some might have thought it would, but that's okay. Keep moving forward and just get a little better at it. 100%.
And also, is good for the economy is if we all choose not to do a patron strike. So, corporations, choose carefully how you decide to react to our choices to do a patron strike. Facts. So I think with that being said, general strike didn't have the impact some might have thought it would, but that's okay. Keep moving forward and just get a little better at it.
100%. And you had the right take, patrons, not the workers.
Yeah, traditionally employed. All right, so if we have a little bit of time, I thought we might have a bigger group, but that's fine. When I initially came up with this idea, but I was like, wouldn't it be fun? We can get the people to weigh in on this, mm-hmm. But it's just a casual discussion. What is everyone doing for the 4th of July?
I think that's relevant. Some of you will understand the question. Yeah, well, I know there's a bit of a delay, so we'll give it a sec. Should we kind of preface why we're asking?
Yeah, like there's no wrong answer. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, in other words, am I the only one who feels like the 4th of July feels like, if from an activist perspective, just like an opportunity to maybe make a statement? Like I'm not as bold as say some people in my circle of online friends, but I'm going to make a TikTok and just put my opinions out there on what I think of my country.
I've been talking to some people at work and stuff and asking last few days, what are you doing for the 4th? I was like, I don't know, something anti. If you want my honest answer. So I know I talked to you about it. I think my big 4th plan might be next year. I've got designs on the 4th that I'm excited for. But personally, there will be some kind of flag burning for me, but not like I'm not gonna put it out there. Just gonna be my personal thing. Needs to be done.
Yeah, I've heard whispers and murmurs about certain people wanting to burn flags as well, and I fully endorse exercising your First Amendment rights personally, but I encourage people to be really, really safe, and however you decide to exercise your First Amendment rights.
That's the thing. If you are going to burn, know what your like actual know what the ordinance is like. Know what's like allowed, not allowed. Don't steal shit. Do not steal shit. I don't condone that. And yeah, usually you should be probably on your own private property. So
yeah, not celebrating the birth of a nation that really has some things that needs to do better at. I fully endorse that too. To zero judgment to anyone who's just like, I'm not about the 4th of July.
And also, if you're about it, no judgment either. Like, we ain't gonna holiday police you.
Yeah, exactly. We're all inclusive here at the Trickle Up on like how you want to spend your 4th of July.
Yeah, we're just floating the idea out there because there's been a lot of talk lately about like symbols. And I think the problem is like everyone would like to believe that like there's like a symbol that we can all rally around, which should be the flag of the country. But the reality is that flag represents a wide spectrum of things, good and bad, depending on where you stand in the world, undeniably. And there's no way that can be a rallying piece, a rallying symbol, until the side that loves that thing acknowledges the pain of what's attached to that thing for like millions of people. So like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna dive into personal shit, but I think there's a lot of people with a personal story. If you're like an immigrant or something, child of an immigrant or something, who can, if you've been born here, if you were brought here against your will in your history, et cetera, there's a lot of people who have a dark side in terms of like there's a shadow, man. That flag casts a big shadow if you ain't on the freedom side of it, and we don't acknowledge that enough. So cook up some good ribs. I do like some good ribs. I do like a good potato salad. That's a great point, boys. Firework budgets for municipalities are a significant amount of money. I just see resources being wasted that should be used to help people. Yeah, do like the flyovers at like sporting events, things like that. That's the problem with like, I think it's the capitalism mentality though, man, because it's like, it is literally just production for the sake of production without any aim. So it creates a society that says, can we instead of should we? So like, that's why we can't feed everybody. We can't educate everyone. We can't get healthcare for everyone, but we have like Peeps flavored Pepsi for Easter. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why it's funny. People are like, oh, like what would you do if like there's no capitalism? Where would innovation come from? We would just do like what we need for need and not for greed. Like that's all it would be. So I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, this is a really good. Yeah, that's a fire take right there. And what I was going to say now is just like like not good at all after aggressively liberal, which is, and I don't know if you know this about aggressively liberal, but him and I think we have beef. I don't really know because I don't really understand people like 90% of the time. But he's either like really likes me and is super comfortable and therefore he like comes at me in other people's lives, or he doesn't like me, and I'm trying to navigate that as we go back and forth in like TikTok DMs. But I did make it
hella literal.
Yeah, facts. I did make him a mod today on my live, and I'm like, that may come back to haunt me. But I was going to say to the fireworks, dogs. There's a thing about fireworks that the entire week of 4th of July that's always, I think, super messed up, and that the family pets kind of have a hard time. But yeah, I agree. There is something that's a little bit like we're spending all this money, and then it's kind of an aggressive thing for anyone who's going to have sensitivity to like a firework, like veterans or.
We'll look at aggressive liberals' take. Like again, that's back to back. So obviously, I think that first take was fire because obviously, it's exactly the point you're talking about. There's a real example of it. So that's the point, man. I think there's a lot of shit we just don't think about that's attached to like the celebratory like aspect of these things. Like which I know I didn't for like the first 24 years of my life, man. When it came to like the 4th of July, like I just didn't think about it like that, man. There's no, like, no wrong. There was times where I asked myself like how much I really love this country. Like, like when you see people like, cause I'm like, this seems so performative sometimes. Right. Like, but like, I never thought of it like that side of it. Right. And there's some, but God damn, dude, like last year, I didn't celebrate the 4th. I wasn't I didn't celebrate it.
Yeah. Well, we were in a global pandemic, so that might have been part of it. But yeah, just wasn't gonna happen. Yeah. And this is nothing to do with it, but like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what is he implying? What I don't know why. Like, is he calling me vegan? Like,
you guys have no beef, but he's probably some kind of food dig on you. So I'm saying, so we're chilling, so we're good, but I'm gonna throw some shade. It means you guys are good.
Okay. Yeah, to that point, when I said earlier, I was like, I don't know how like you and I got asked to co-host because like it's kind of polar opposites in terms of personalities. I was like, I will give you credit that like as soon as you picked up on that you need to be literal, you are by far the best communicator to me among all the people in the group. Everyone else just is like normal with their nuances, but you're just like, there's no point. I'll just save time if I'm just very direct with her. So I respect that.
People tell you, like everyone says, like how they communicate and what they want. You just like got to do it. But yeah, thank you. I would like to point out in my defense, I'm a communications major, so I should be.
100%. 100%. Zero pushback on that.
The only one I have a hard time with, for example, like Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm not religious. Most
yeah. Now be careful. Now be careful here. You're saying like I'm not Christian. It's got some pagan origins. Right. Yeah, so like that 100%. Whole thing, like what the Christians are like, it's kind of our thing. I'm like, was it your thing? Did
I say Christian? No, you said not religious.
Yeah. So. But I just like, I've had people tell me I shouldn't be allowed to celebrate Christmas because I'm not Christian. And I'm like,
God, get out of here, bro.
I grew up with it. It's a family tradition. Like, is that not enough? Like,
and plus to your point, the origin predates.
Yeah.
But I like it because I think like the idea is that like I don't know, I don't know, like for me, like it's not about the presents and shit. I actually just I like the lights. I like the smell of the fire in there. I like the familial like kind of like atmosphere, like at least in theory. So I don't know. I'm not a like lovey-dovey guy, but there's something about that time of year that kind of gets me.
Yeah, that I think is really right on, because most people, it's not easy to break away from traditions, and you get a lot of pushback from family and friends. So anyone who's like willing to be like, it's not appropriate, we need to move on from this, I respect that.
100%. That kind of goes back to the flag burning thing. It's like we have to move past the symbols which maintain the status quo. Like we got to. So, and holidays are symbols in a way, right?
Yeah, and some traditions, like when we actually take a step outside of them, we're just like, oh, that's terrible. Why have we been doing that? So like, yeah, we need to take every tradition, we need to take a hard look at and be like, why are we doing this, and is it appropriate?
Facts. Lemon Oreos, did I just read that correctly?
Yeah, see, that's why you got to come to I was telling you about that behind when like Change the System was there, and No Use and when I met the aggressively liberal guy,
Mm-hmm.
there were some hot food takes that I thought of you because I was like, I don't know how you're going to feel about some of these people if you knew what they were saying.
Burn them
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, like we have disagreements from time to time on like really, really important things, but it's where we start to not trust one another in our group is when we have different takes on food, for sure. Yeah, like I love Change the System. I got mad respect for Change the System, but she likes Brussels sprouts, so like there's this little reservation where I'm like, huh, I don't know.
Little.
It's a little one.
Huge.
For me, it's little. I know for you
Massive.
and Michael, it's huge, but like for me, it's just little. But I'm like, it's there. Same with No Use, who is also pro Brussels sprouts. Like I really like those two. They could be doing what we're doing right now. I really, really like those two. Brussels sprouts things. I'm not sure how I feel. And then he also does this thing with like lemon Oreos. And I'm like, why you got to mess up the cream, ma'am?
Lemons aren't even good.
I don't know, lemon pasta.
I love lemonade. I love lemonade, but like
lemonade's overrated. Lemon peppered pasta, like that's good stuff.
Hey, Modern Warrior is awesome. Guys, that comment right there. If anyone's on TikTok, please go follow. I believe it's modern_warrior. He is awesome. I followed him because I saw a few of his videos and it challenged me. Like I felt a little uncomfortable with some of the topics and it made me kind of explore some. And like, damn, okay, this guy's pushing some really good and need to hear topics. I would really suggest you go follow him. And I would suggest you, if you jump into those comments, support him. You see trolls, jump in, have his back. He's a leader. Like he's a leader. So
yeah, 100%. Oh, geez. Okay. If you ever no, hang on. I gotta save you. If you ever encounter a guy named Resist for Humanity,
bro,
you need to keep that to yourself.
Keep that to yourself, like for everyone's benefit.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy,
he's
but
a
like
great guy.
He's a little reactionary when it comes to chocolate, and I just want to save you that initial reaction. You just want to keep that to yourself if you ever come across that guy.
Oh my God, I just had an idea. That's what we can do. We can swarm positive people's pages too.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, just like because I think Modern Warrior and like
Yeah.
Yeah,
but no, eating and spending time with your family is your favorite, man. Like call it a different thing. Like we need to evolve.
Make it a personal day of thanks, right? Just call it like your own family thing or something. But yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And maybe
there is something that feels very like the right side of history to be like, we shouldn't have Thanksgiving. That shouldn't be a thing. Stop trying to make what happened okay.
Yeah.
Did you say lemons were trash?
We have a hat. Yeah, I said lemons are trash.
Okay, but you like lemonade, so it's
lemonade.
Yeah.
I like lemonade.
I used to eat lemons just like how one would eat an orange, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
It's just like it's so bitter. Like,
I know, but it's like there's like a thrill. It's kind of like I told you, like I don't like the flavor of spicy food, but there's that thrill. And I think as a kid, I maybe that thrill of the sour. I don't know. I grew up in a small town in the country. Like there wasn't a lot to do, so like you had to find thrills very uniquely.
Some people jump off cliffs. Some people eat lemons. Depends where you are in the world. Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Fair space. So is that a hashtag like to support like creators like Modern Warrior? Or is that specifically?
I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we're gonna wait. Yeah, we're gonna wait, and
we're good with the agenda, though, right? I believe.
This is we're in the post discussion, and whether or not this ever sees the light of day in his video editing, I don't know, but I think that it's possible the Trickle Up will have like post topics discussions, and those might just be like, unless you tuned in for the live, you don't get to see. I don't know how many people will get to see this, but I enjoy, this is what I look forward to.
And I like more Q&A, kind of just shooting to the people. 100%.
Yeah, and like our chat is like a really good group of people tonight. Like I'm really honored.
Yeah, seriously. Like it really, you ain't kidding. It's a good group. So, right, Carnage. So, by the way, Carnage, that dual live will be. If anyone's interested, dual live tonight at 7:30 is where we'll be in 40 minutes on TikTok. So.
He's still hung up about the lemons. I'm waiting for aggressively liberal. We're just kind of
But the
being
fair space thing, yeah.
So not that we don't like your guys' comments too, but if that's why I seemed again. This is why I feel like I don't know. I feel like the next time we see each other like pixels, no use. Like I'm probably gonna apologize because I was like I felt bad how I reacted initially when you got my name wrong. And now I'm like constantly still trying to make up for it and be like, oh, I don't want to make him feel like I didn't care about his comment, but I'm just trying to be a good producer.
Okay, yeah, so aggressive liberal, that's something, dude. Hit a link with me in DMs, and that's something I can try and work with you too on too. Because that's like 100%. That's one of the biggest issues we have is conservatives, Republicans are just better at social media. They're not afraid to jump in there and spew their shit, and we need people on the left to be willing to jump in there and spew their shit. Frankly, keep it respectful to a degree, right? Be sharp, come with the receipts. But we got to do like that's the thing because. Like today, I saw someone make a friends only video, and she admitted it's tough. Like especially when you're outspoken, there's a lot of shit that comes back your way. And when you see those like messages of support, those comments of support, I can speak for myself. It's good to see. I like seeing a nice comment amongst the shit. It makes me feel a little better. So I can't.
Yeah, and I feel like as long as you get like in other words, you can get like 10 negative comments, but you get that one positive comment. Like that's all it takes to make all those 10 negative comments not even matter.
Facts.
But so Matt, I think this is sharing information on TikTok. I'm not 100% sure, but I think
that is accurate. That's what she said. That is accurate. Let me look that up real quick here.
Yeah, I really appreciate the peeps that jump platforms. So because I'm like it's not easy, and I really thank you. Oh, and on that note, anyone in here, make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, because they do this most Sundays on the Trickle Up. They do most Thursdays, and there's like panel discussions, things of that nature. So, is it sharing for information? Like,
yeah, it's like a pun. So, like, yeah.
Oh, boom! There it is. All right, let's see here. Got you. Followed. Okay. Cool. On their 100 tilt monitor, creator. Yeah, so aggressive liberal, that's kind of what the conservatives do. They have their tags, right? They all monitor, and if it's something positive, they go and boost them or follow like their little trains. And if it's something negative, they mob on them and they go in negative comments and mass report. They're good at that shit, man. That's awesome to see that we got people who notice that and are trying to actually counteractively do something about it. So, is that the right word for counteractively? Whatever, you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, and y'all, I don't know how much time Matt needs to prep for the Dole Live, so I'm going to let him take the lead on when we wrap this up.
I'll probably wrap it up here. 7 minutes. I was thinking 7 o'clock, anyways, on the hour.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't feel bad because I don't think Voice has to edit anything for this little segment.
No. To that end, guys, we got a few minutes here. Yeah, so it's just I will say this real quick. I think No Use and Change the System. I think they actually the rare few who like I vehemently disagree with them, but they actually like Brussels sprouts, like even like raw, I think. So like, all right, you're wrong, you're sick, you're philosophically fucked, but fair enough, you actually like the shit. But to you people who are like, oh, just put lots of like stuff on it, like butter, and you don't like the Brussels sprout, then you're eating the butter. You're lying to yourself. And I don't have to accept your lies. It's like people are like, oh, I love coffee. Are you drinking it black? Then you don't like coffee. You like something else. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to me. It's not going to be a duel. It's going to be a, I mean, none of them are really duels usually, but it's going to be a LJ. I always get his name wrong, but he's a cool dude. If you go check the page on TikTok, it's one of the more recent videos, has a timeline. He's tagged in it, so you can go check out his content. And we're just going to talk about critical race theory, Trump, Derek Chauvin, sentencing, bipartisanship, and the vaccine were the things he wanted to talk about. So we'll see what we hit tonight.
Like at first I thought it was like maybe he's not being direct enough because like I don't understand this at all, but even you were just like, this is what it feels like to be shy all the time, isn't it?
The round of golf goes over my head, but that just seems like a face-to-face type of thing. Let's hang out. Yeah.
Or like an inside joke or something.
Who's Tim Austin Wood though?
I don't know. That's not on my radar either.
Who's bullying
Oh,
change?
yeah, I don't know, but they were talking about an Austin in my live. Him and No Use were talking about an Austin in my live too.
Who's bullying my homie? That's that shit. Are they always?
Yeah, this thing with us, like once we absorb you into our group, like we got your back. And like I said, we like change and we like No Use. So, and I was like, I feel bad now. Like no one is like hyping up aggressively liberal. It's because you don't make content, man. It's not that we don't like you. Mostly,
I love
although
aggressive liberal. That dude's
I do
cool,
have some
man.
reservations.
I respect him because he's actually like oh baby, so he was an inside little comment. So dude, I respect aggressive liberal because he's so so for example, like you got to be sharing people's stuff, right? You got to be like commenting. You got to be he's in there, man. He's always there, helping out, supporting, giving good comments like he's done tonight. Like Carnage too. Carnage is all about that. Carnage is a trooper.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, again, I apologize.
And Grateful Sea Dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. Name's kind of going over my head, but
Oh, really? I see her all she's everywhere.
I'm bad with comments though, dude. Like it's like I'm good with like the images and like if I got like another image, like the G's not coming to my mind.
Yeah, I see her in all the lives. So I'm just like, yeah, I know. I don't do really face recognition, so I never look at people's profile pictures.
Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. That's so interesting. I wonder what people like. Everyone like. What do you first like? Just go to when you like see like a bio or a profile or something. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Great. It's your okay? I'm a douche canoe. Then I'm a terrible human being. I apologize. Sea Dog. Ah, you did. That was who it was. Okay, because I do remember you tagging that. I was a couple. Okay, awesome. That's who it was then. You guys went back and forth a little bit too on there, like a few videos, I think, right?
That's an interesting technique on how to. Well, I don't know. Like, to me, if anyone follows me, I just follow them right back because I'm like, we're never going to build the coalition we need if we are selective. And yeah, sometimes it sucks, and you just like have to ignore certain DMs and just move on with your life. But for the most part, it's positive.
What the fuck is a douche canoe? You don't know?
Yeah, see, Matt's better at that than I am. He's very selective on his followers, but
I'm usually pretty selective. There's a few that like it's reciprocity, like they did something or like a duet of a video. I'm like, damn, thank you for duetting that one. But for the most part, 80%, yeah, it's like because to that point though, like people do look at that, like they look at who you're following and they will judge that. So, and that, fair or not, birds of a feather flock together, right? So
guys, it's a little bit delayed. We have about 90 seconds. So if you have questions, now's the time to get them in.
Now's the time to pop it because we're about to lock it, then drop it, then swap it.
It's weird how it appears, their comments appear on the YouTube before it shows up on our behind the scenes for me to be able to click it.
Isn't it the teeth? Oh,
you guys are moving too fast.
Shy, you should address that one. I feel like.
How do you tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? Is it like a pun, or is she like actually just quizzing whether or not I do Animal Planet stuff?
It's their teeth.
Oh, is it their teeth?
I think so. At least there's probably a few other things too. I ain't no alligator crocodile expert.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's the thing. Like it's just baby steps. Like I was like straight up, I was afraid to get on TikTok and shit, man. Is it the nose? You just every time you do like a little more, you just kind of build up to it, man. Like I was afraid to start like a Facebook page for like Meet the Media for a long time. It's like, oh, like people are gonna judge, and they will, like they kind of do, right? But like every time you do it, it just gets a little easier.
Yeah, I fully endorse this. And even if it's just like a black screen and a duet with someone else, like just take baby steps. Like I didn't even join TikTok to like make stuff for myself. I was like, I'm just gonna hype up other cooler people, and then I became a cool person. So yeah, I fully endorse it. 100%.
That's kind of like one of the goals, right? Is like to kind of like invite people into the space, make them like understand, hey, it's like this is safe. Like we can all have conversations, disagree, like yada yada, and then, like go out and like replicate, right? And then try and create more groups like this horizontally that kind of have the same ideas, right? So.
Oh, but, you know, and since almost everyone that was here in my live before, when I was talking crap about Matt, and I was like, I got to get off the live because I got to text him. I literally texted him and then moved the tripod over, and then I could see that he was actually behind stage. He was just like just out of sight. So that's my bad, everyone. That's my bad. He was here on time. That's my bad.
That was pretty ironic. Like you said, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was chilling. But yeah, it is that time, guys. So I appreciate everyone who's in here. A lot of you guys are in Shy's live. Thank you for being a producer, Shy's live. And all I gotta say is you can find me at the media cross handles. I think all you guys know that at this point. I don't gotta fucking spiel to you guys. I'll be on live in 30 minutes if you guys are interested on TikTok. So, Shy.
Yeah. Yep. TikTok Mute the Media 3.0.
We gotta do a sign off or anything for this? Or are we good?
No, just thanks for tuning in.
Check out. And remember, Trickle Up on Thursdays, Trickle Up on Sundays. They got panel discussions. And if you're interested in, like, maybe you think you want to jump in, like, for example, like, no uses, change system, you guys should be up here at some point, maybe. But yeah, if you guys are interested, reach out to like me or Shy. Maybe we can like put you in touch with the voice and we can see if it can work out or something. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.